Hello and welcome to our weekly Fusion Tech Tip. My name is Zarina and I am an Autodesk application engineer at Modern Durban with a specialization in the manufacturing industry in programs such as AutoCAD, Inventor, and Fusion. Today we'll be talking about rendering. We're starting off where our last video ended, so we'll just jump straight into the render process. There are two different types of renders available in Fusion 360. We have the in-canvas render, which just renders it in your actual graphics window here in front of your eyes. We also have the actual render tool, which renders proper images and saves them to your rendering gallery, as you can see at the bottom here. The in-canvas render needs to be started and stopped manually. Once you start the in-canvas render, if you move your model or reposition it in any way, the render will start again from scratch. You can access your in-canvas render settings here, and you can set between a fast render, as you can see here, or you can choose the advanced render where you can set how high the quality of the render is actually going to be. You also have a lock view option here, which means it won't allow you to rotate while the render is still active, preventing you from restarting the render by moving the model. To adjust the quality of the render, you can simply click and drag the slider, and once it reaches where the slider is, it will stop rendering and produce a final result. If you are happy with the result that has been produced, you can then simply capture an image of it. With the in-canvas render, you can only capture an image at the document window size, but I'm going to go ahead and click OK and save this to my physical computer. The perks of doing this type of render is that you can do multiple captures at different times throughout the stages of the render. Once a render has reached the point that you have dragged it to, you can also adjust it and it will just carry on with the render from the last point that it left off. The other option available to you is to use the actual render tool. When you activate this, it immediately takes you to the settings dialog box, and you need to do all the settings before you start the actual render. There are various pre-made settings that you can choose from, and in each of these you can choose whether to use the cloud render or the local render option. The cloud render option does make use of cloud credits. You can check how many cloud credits you have by clicking extensions at the top right here, and you can see there what your balance is. I'm going to choose the custom option with the local render. If you untick advanced settings, you can choose between standard and final, but I'm going to activate advanced and adjust this to excellent. You can also set things like your file format, and you can activate the transparent background option. When you're ready to render, you simply click the render option. It will give you a little message here saying the local rendering has started, and eventually the rendering image will appear in your rendering gallery at the bottom here. When you hover over it, it will show you the time remaining to complete the render. Here I have a couple of other renders that I have completed of the same model, just with slightly different materials. And you can simply double click one of them in your rendering gallery to open them up. And from here, you will also be able to save an actual physical copy of that render. Here I have the same model rendered in a material that is a clear glass. You have some other rendering options available here, but these again require cloud credits. Here we can see this one has 2 minutes remaining. Here is another version that I have with the brass material applied. And you can then download and save this physical image, and your render will be ready for you to use. Thank you for tuning into our Fusion Tech Tip. New tips will be available weekly. Follow Modena Durban on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for all the latest updates, and we'll see you next week.